She didn't cry. This little Labrador puppy just stood there in the wind, holding a note in her paw. Winter in Henderson, Nevada. No snow, just cold wind and pale light over an empty lot. In all that space, there was only her, a yellow Labrador puppy standing where someone had left her. 6 weeks old at most, too young to be alone. Her fur was the color of dry straw, her nose reddened from the wind. She shook so hard her ribs fluttered, but she didn't make a sound. Not a bark, not a whine. Instead, she held on to that crumpled piece of paper. A thin red rubber band pinned it to her front paw. Every time the wind pushed her sideways, she checked it first, glancing down to see if the note was still there. She took a few steps, stopped, and lifted her paw again like she was trying to show it to anybody who might care enough to look. When she finally noticed me, she didn't run over. She froze. Her eyes stayed on my hands, not my face. I'm used to scared dogs, but this was different. This Labrador puppy looked like she believed the paper was the only reason I could see her. I went down on one knee and kept my voice low. "Hey, sweetheart," I said. "It's okay. I see you." She flinched, but didn't back up. She shifted her weight so the note stayed in front of her chest, like a small shield. Her paw pads were cracked. The rubber band had rubbed a thin line into her fur. She licked her lips once, swallowed, and lifted the paw higher, almost pushing the paper toward me. I've worked in dog rescue a long time, but I had never seen a puppy cling to a scrap of paper like it was her last bit of hope. I reached out slowly, palm open, and for the first time I saw it clearly. A blurred ink stain on that page, and in the middle of it, the faint print of a tiny paw. I was more afraid of opening that note than of the cold. I eased the thin red band down her leg, slow and gentle so it wouldn't pinch. The little Labrador puppy never took her eyes off the paper. Her paw stayed pressed on it, claws just barely touching my skin, like she was warning me, "Don't lose this." "Easy," I whispered. "I'm just going to look, okay?" She let me slide the note onto my palm, but she followed it with her whole body. That abandoned puppy leaned forward, its nose almost on my hand, breathing quick little puffs into the wind. She wasn't worried about me. She was worried about the distance between her and that crumpled page. The paper was soft and dirty, edges worn thin. I opened it right in front of her, low and close, so the Labrador puppy could see every fold. The ink was blurred, but the first line was still clear. "She is soft. Please warm her. Don't yell. She follows the paper. If she drops it, she stops." I read it once out loud. Then again, quieter. That one line stuck in my head and wouldn't let go. Not abandoned. Not left. Not problem. Just soft. About her body, her nature, this little rescued puppy standing in the wind and still trying to be gentle. Without meaning to, I heard myself say it out loud. "Soft, softy." The Labrador puppy's ears twitched. She blinked up at me, long and slow, like the sound reached a place that hadn't been hurt yet. For a heartbeat, she stopped shaking. "Softy," I repeated, barely above a breath. Her paw shifted on my wrist, just a little closer. It felt like the first yes. I tried to slide the note toward my jacket, just to keep it safe from the wind. Softy exploded into motion, one clumsy, panicked jump, back legs sliding on the cold pavement, paw swiping at my hand, doing everything her tiny body could to keep that paper from disappearing out of her sight. She wasn't trying to bite. She was trying to hold her whole life in place. Okay, I told her. "You keep it. I won't take it away." I flattened my palm again and laid the note right back under her paw. The second she felt it, her whole body changed. That abandoned puppy lowered herself over the page, like a bird covering an egg. Her breathing was still fast, but the wild panic in her eyes softened into something else. Soft. The word on the paper. The way she looked at me. The way this little rescued puppy refused to hurt, even when she was terrified. "Softy," I said again, more sure this time. The Labrador puppy watched my mouth. Her ears tipped forward, just a little. She blinked slow like she was testing how the sound felt. To me, it felt like the first tiny bridge between us. "You're Softy," I told her. "You are not trash. You are not a problem. You're Softy." I slid my fingers under the edge of the paper, careful not to lift it away from her paw, and tried something different. I picked up her whole paw with the note still under it, like I was lifting them as one thing. She let me. She weighed almost nothing in my arms, but she felt heavy with cold. A 6-week-old Labrador puppy should be sleepy in someone's lap, not bracing herself against the wind in an empty parking lot. Softie tucked her nose toward the paper, even as I held her against my chest. She kept one paw pressed on it, claws curled just enough to say, "This stays with me." "Got it," I murmured. "You and your note. Both of you come with me." She tried to stand in my arms, legs wobbling, then gave up all at once. Her body folded into my jacket like that letter had folded in my hand, and she went limp with a tiny sigh that scared me more than any bark. That was the moment I knew, if I didn't get this little pup warm soon, no note in the world would be enough to keep her here. I didn't call anyone with sirens, I just got that little body out of the wind. I carried Softie to my truck like she was made of glass. The Labrador puppy stayed folded against my chest, one paw still planted on the note, claws hooked just enough to tell me, "If you drop this, you drop me." Inside the cab, it was warmer, but not by much. I started the engine, turned the heater on low, and spread an old fleece blanket across the passenger seat. No hot blasts, no rushing. When a rescued puppy is that cold, you warm them slow. I laid Softie down in the dip of the seat and slid a warm pack under the blanket near her belly, not touching her skin. I tucked the blanket around her sides so she felt held, not trapped. The little Labrador puppy didn't care about the dashboard or the sounds. Her eyes were locked on my hand and the crumpled page. I set the note right by her paw. The change was almost instant. Her breathing was still shallow, but her shoulders loosened. Softie stretched her neck just far enough to touch the wrinkled paper with her nose, then let her head drop onto my hand and stayed there, like she decided this was safe enough for now. "You're okay," I told her softly. "You're not in that lot anymore. You're with me now, Softie." For a moment, the only sounds were the heater fan and her thin, rattly breaths. I slid a small digital thermometer under the blanket against the inside of her thigh and held it there, watching her eyes instead of the numbers. When it finally beeped, I looked down. Her temperature sat right on the line between too late and we still have time. The place was quiet when I carried her in, just the hum of the lights and the smell of disinfectant. Softie stayed curled against my chest, one tiny paw still resting on that crumpled note like it was part of her. "This is Softie," I told the receptionist. 6-week-old Labrador puppy, found in a lot with this on her paw. I laid her on a warm towel in an exam room and set the paper beside her. The vet, Dr. Holt, came in and didn't reach for Softie right away. She crouched down, let the puppy sniff her fingers, then started with the basics: gums, heartbeat, lungs, paws. "Cold," she said softly. "Dehydrated. No broken bones that I can feel. She's been out there a while." While they started a small IV for fluids, a tech picked up the note between 2 fingers. The little abandoned puppy tensed so fast her whole body went stiff. Her eyes followed that paper like it was walking out the door. "Let's keep it close," I said. "Whoever wrote it knew her." The tech nodded and slid the damp page into a thin, clear sleeve so it wouldn't fall apart. No machines, no noise. Just a plastic protector, nothing more. She laid it right back by Softie's nose. Softie relaxed by a fraction. The Labrador puppy touched the sleeve with her nose, then with her paw, as if counting. "It's still here. It's still mine." When they brought a shallow dish with warm, softened food, Softie didn't move at first. Her eyes went from the bowl to the note, then to me. "It's okay," I told her. "You can eat. The note's not going anywhere." We nudged the dish so it sat almost touching the sleeve. Only then did that little rescued puppy lean forward, give the food one careful lick, then another. Small bites, long pauses. Each time the bowl slid even an inch away from the note. She stopped. We moved it back. Softie started again. No note, no food. By the time Softie finished those first few bites, the note had started to dry. It was still wrinkled and stained, but inside that clear sleeve, the paper wasn't falling apart anymore. While the tech checked her IV line, I picked the sleeve up and turned it over in my hand, more out of habit than anything else. There was more writing on the back. The ink had bled, but one line stood out, darker than the rest. I read it once in my head, then out loud so the little Labrador puppy could hear it too. 2 taps equals safe. I just stared at the words for a second. Someone had taken the time to teach this tiny dog a code, and then trusted that the next person who found her would care enough to read it. Softie watched my face. Her eyes kept bouncing between the sleeve and my mouth, like she was waiting to see what I would do with her secret. Okay, I said quietly. Let's try it. I set the note back down by her paw and reached for the metal door of the kennel. I didn't touch her. I didn't raise my voice. I just gave the door 2 gentle taps with my knuckles. Tap, tap. The sound was barely there under the clinic hum, but Softie heard it. That little rescued puppy's ears lifted. She held still, thinking. Then, very slowly, she lifted one paw and tapped the towel. Tap, tap. It was so soft I almost missed it, but it was an answer. That's it, I whispered. 2 taps. You're safe. I did it again. Tap, tap on the metal. Softie's paw followed, tap, tap on the towel. A tiny Labrador puppy lying under a warm blanket in a strange place, using the only language someone had given her. The tech smiled. She knows it, she said. Whoever had her, they tried. I reached down to straighten the sleeve and my thumb caught the edge of the paper through the plastic. Just enough pressure to pull at a weak spot. A corner of the note tore inside the sleeve with a quiet, ugly little rip. Softie froze. Her whole body went rigid, eyes locked on that small torn edge, chest fluttering like it had back in the wind. For her, it wasn't just paper breaking. It was the one solid thing in her world cracking right in front of her. For Softie, that tiny rip may as well have been an earthquake. Hey, I said quickly. We're not throwing it away. We're fixing it. Her eyes were locked on that torn corner inside the sleeve. The little Labrador puppy's whole body had gone tight again, like she was back in that parking lot with the wind in her face. Her paw hovered over the note, afraid to touch it and afraid not to. The receptionist, our front desk admin, walked by, saw my face, and glanced at the sleeve. That her note? She asked quietly. Yeah, I said. It ripped. She saw it. Let me laminate it, she offered, so it never shreds on her again. Softie watched as I carried the sleeve toward the counter, always keeping myself in her line of sight. We slid the paper carefully out of the thin protector and into a clean laminating pouch. No rough movements, no tearing sounds. I held it flat while the receptionist fed it into a small laminator that hummed softly on the desk. The machine was quiet, but Softie heard it. The little rescued puppy's ears twitched. Her eyes never left that slowly moving sheet. We're not hiding it, I told her, keeping my voice steady. We're protecting it, like we're protecting you. I carried the laminated note back like something fragile and important and slid it right under her paw. She leaned forward and bumped the laminate with her nose. Then she bumped my sleeve, just as quick, like she was connecting the two. The paper, and the person who helped save it. That evening, after the clinic quieted down and the lights dimmed, I stayed on a chair near her kennel. Softie lay curled around her laminated note, her tiny breathing slow and heavy. And as the building settled to night, her breathing started to catch again, uneven, like the crumpled lines on that page. Lying there with her laminated note under her paw, she would breathe, pause, then drag the next breath in like it weighed something. Her little chest fluttered too fast, then too slow. Dr. Holt came back in, took one look, and nodded. Let's give her some extra help, she said. No panic, no drama, just a calm decision. We moved Softie into an oxygen kennel. Warm blankets, steady air, clear walls. I slid her note in with her before the door closed. That little Labrador puppy curled her paw over the plastic, eyes huge in the half-light. This box is not a trap, I told her. It's a helping box. 2 taps still mean safe. I let my knuckles rest on the clear door and gave it 2 soft taps. Tap, tap. Softie's ears twitched. She watched my hand, thought about it, then lifted her paw and pressed it to the blanket. Tap, tap. Even there, with tubes humming in the air thick and warm, she answered. The monitor by her kennel started spitting out numbers. Heart rate, oxygen, things most people walk past without seeing. I didn't. I watched them like they were a second kind of note written just for us. Her oxygen was low, too low. Dr. Holt adjusted the flow, her voice steady. We'll let her body do the work, she said. You just keep being her safe person. So I did. Every few minutes, tap, tap. And every time, Softie's paw twitched on the blanket. After a while, her eyes slipped half shut. Her breaths got shorter. The numbers began to slide down, one slow drop at a time. I pressed my hand flat to the glass so she could see me. Stay with me, Softie, I whispered. 2 taps. You're safe. Tap, tap. Her paw moved like it was made of sand, but it moved. The numbers kept falling, then slowed, then hovered on a thin line of green that felt way too close to the edge. Then, finally, they stopped going down. Morning came in soft and quiet. the way bad nights sometimes do. I must have dozed in that chair because the next thing I remember is a pale strip of light creeping across the floor towards Softy's kennel. The clinic felt different in the early hour. No phones, no doors slamming, just the hum of machines and one small Labrador puppy still fighting for her place in the world. Her numbers on the monitor hadn't climbed yet, but they weren't falling anymore. That alone felt like a miracle. Softy's eyes opened, slow and sticky with sleep. For a second, she looked lost, like she was trying to remember which life she was in, the cold parking lot or this warm glass box with her note. Then she saw the page. The laminated note lay near her paw. Softy stared at it, then at the clear wall between us. Very carefully, that little rescued puppy nudged the plastic with her nose, pushing the note across the blanket until it bumped the front of the kennel. Plastic on plastic, a small, certain sound. She kept going, bit by bit, until the note was pressed flat against the glass. Her paw followed, resting on top of it as if she was pinning it there for me to read. "I see you," I told her. "I see it." I lifted my hand and gave the door 2 gentle taps. Tap, tap. Softy's paw answered on the inside. Tap, tap. Her breathing was still shallow, but her eyes were clear now. She wasn't asking if I was there. She was saying, as plain as she could without a single bark, "I'm here. I'm still here." Dr. Holt walked by, checked the monitor, and gave me a small nod. "She's turned a corner," she said. "Let's see if she keeps going." On the counter beside us, a clipboard appeared sometime that morning, a fresh adoption list with blank lines waiting. My name wasn't on it yet. Softy's paw stayed on her note, pressed to the glass, like she was deciding whether the world outside that box was worth trusting again. By late afternoon, Softy's numbers had crept up just enough for Dr. Holt to say, "Let's try her without the oxygen box." Her voice was calm, but my heart sped up anyway. We opened the kennel door slow, no rush, no cheering, just space and air and a little Labrador puppy who had to decide for herself what came next. Softy blinked at the opening. Her laminated note lay by her paws. For a moment she stayed curled around it, like always. Then she did something new. She stood up. Her legs wobbled, but she stayed on her feet. She looked at the note, at me, then back at the note again. You could almost see the thought crossing her little face. If I leave this, do I stop existing? I didn't call her. I didn't clap or coax. I just held out my hand, palm up and still. Softy lowered her head, picked up the laminated page gently in her mouth, and stepped forward. 1 step, 2, 3, each one careful like she was crossing thin ice. When she reached me, she stopped. Her eyes met mine for just a second. Then she set the note down in my hand and let go. It was the first time I'd seen her willingly separate from it. "Okay," I whispered. "I'll hold it. I promise." Out in the hall, the adoption clipboard waited on the counter. Blank lines, black ink, simple as can be. Behind me, Softy took a few more steps on her own, out of the shadow of the kennel and into the strip of light on the floor. No one pulled her. No one pushed. That little rescued puppy walked toward the light by herself, and I stood there with her whole paper world resting in my hand, feeling the weight of a choice I hadn't written my name under yet. I signed my name on that clipboard with my hand, but it felt like I was putting walls and a roof around her. Dr. Holt read it, nodded once. "Good," she said. "Let's keep Softy one more night, just to be sure her numbers stay up. You can take your Labrador puppy home in the morning." I sat down on the floor so we were level. "This stays with you tonight," I told her. I slid the note back under her paw. The little Labrador puppy shifted her weight onto it, like she was settling into her own pillow. She looked up at me for a long moment, then let her eyes drift shut, her body curling around that small, hard rectangle of plastic. The next morning, when I walked into the lobby, I didn't have to ask where she was. I heard the soft jingle of a temporary collar and the click of small claws on the floor. Softy came around the corner with a vet tech at her side and her laminated note in her mouth. That little rescued puppy carried it like a treasure, edges gripped gently between her teeth. When she saw me, her whole back end started to wiggle. She picked up speed, ears flopping, and went straight for my shoes. She stopped with her front paws on my boots, lifted her head, and pushed the note up toward my hands. "Hey, Softy," I said. "Yeah, I see you." I took the note. She sat, then lifted her paw and tapped my ankle. Tap! Tap! My house in Henderson, warm kitchen, clean floors, a big window in the living room that catches the afternoon light. I set her new bed right under that window, put her food and water nearby, and then hung her laminated note in a simple frame on the wall at her eye level. Softie trotted over on her small Labrador paws, sniffed the frame, and checked that the page inside was the same one she'd carried. I tapped twice on the wooden shelf beneath it. Tap, tap. Her ears rose, her tail started to sway, and for the first time, safe meant something bigger than a kennel or a parking lot. It meant this room, this house, and a life where her note and her person finally belonged in the same place. Softie doesn't walk around with her note in her paw anymore. She doesn't have to. Most days now, my yellow Labrador puppy lies in that patch of Henderson sunlight under the living room window, chin on her bed, eyes half closed. Her framed note hangs just above her, at her level. Sometimes she glances up at it, like you or I might glance at an old photograph that changed everything. When she gets scared, a loud truck outside, a stranger's voice at the door, she still goes to it. I give her the same answer every time. Tap, tap. Her tail starts to thump, not wild, not frantic, just steady. Safe. A rescued puppy reminding herself she's not in a cold parking lot anymore, not alone with a piece of paper and the wind. If you're watching this with your own dog lying nearby, you already understand more than I can say. You know how one little life can fill a whole house. Softie made it because somebody wrote a note, somebody stopped the car, somebody kept a clinic open, and somebody, me this time, signed a name on a line. Caring for a rescued puppy is more than love. It's responsibility. It's pet care. It's warm towels, slow feeds, quiet nights in chairs you never planned to sleep in. It's learning then their strange little language and answering it again and again until they believe you. If Softie's story touched you, don't let it stop with you. Share this Labrador puppy's rescue with other people who will actually stop when they see a small dog in trouble. Tell us in the comments what signal means you're safe in your home. And if you want more gentle dog rescue stories like this, you're welcome to stay. Together, we turn rescue into hope.